Rajia Hao, as they say in China. Even though I'm still in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, and today I'm gonna talk about my experience at Saigon Poker Room, specifically about experience I had 2 nights ago on Sunday. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I want to thank all my subscribers, and I actually got a new subscriber when I was at the poker room the other night. Shout out to him. His name's Hung, and also had a new subscriber just subscribed, I think, last week. I think his name is Latty Piggy Jr. something. Thank you very much for subscribing to both of you. And okay, so this is like the only place I know of really to play poker in Saigon. There may be other places, but this place is only about like a 10 or 15-minute walk from my apartment, and I've been thinking about playing here for a while, but I don't know. Like I said, I've been working on this passion project and just never got around to it. I finally went on Friday, and so this place doesn't have cash games, and they'll tell you that as soon as you walk in, especially if you're a foreigner. Um, it's just all tournaments, and also you need to like show them your passport or a picture of your passport. What I did was I just uh, sent a picture of my passport to my WeChat account, and I showed that to them when I went in there on Friday. Uh, so I'll go ahead and show you the schedule. This is it. I played in the cheapest one with the buy-ins 400,000 Vietnamese dong. Sorry, a little under the weather. I would have done this video yesterday, but I was really tired. Didn't get much sleep after playing. I'll get to that in a minute. Why? Um, Still a little under the weather, but I want to do this video while everything's still kind of fresh in my mind. But anyway, 400,000 Vietnamese dong. This is about 15 bucks. And the guaranteed prize pool is 10 million. It's kind of like a small amount compared to the other tournaments. I haven't tried any of these. So I barely made the money both on Friday and Sunday. And I basically just won back my my entry fee plus like enough to buy an ice cream. And I played for like over 3 hours each. But yeah, Sunday night in particular, that was pretty crazy. So this tournament starts at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Fortunately, there's only one. It's like the next cheapest one is 600,000, which I want to try, but I want to wait until I actually win a decent amount playing this one before I try this one. And it looks like the prize pool is a lot better on this one. It's like what would this be? Like almost about like 80 times the buy-in. Over here, it's just like uh, maybe 25 times the buy-in. I hear like this is a real grinder. Takes a long time. You have to be there quite a while. So for this one, you start off with 12,000 in chips. Says every blind is or the blinds get raised every 12 minutes. And the way it works is there's like an ante, but only the big blind pays the ante. So it's like you pay your antes whenever you're the big blind. And for example, I believe the blinds start off at 100 and 100. And I think it's actually that way for the first two rounds, and then it goes to like 200 and 100 if I'm not mistaken. Sorry. Um, yeah, and anyway, the way it works is when you're the big blind, you basically have to pay the ante for, I guess, like everybody. And I've never played with a structure like this, and I haven't played live poker in years. I've been playing on my VR headset. but haven't actually played in a casino or a poker room like this in at least 5 years. So, I'm a little rusty with how everything works, but I don't think I've ever really played in a game quite like this one where the when you're the big blind, it's almost like you got to pay two big blinds. It's called the ante, but the ante is the same amount as the big blind. So in the first round, when it's 100, 100, small blind, big blind are the same. Uh, I think 100 is like the smallest denomination of chips they have. So it's either that or start at 200 100. Um, but anyway, when it's 100, 100, when the big blind is 100, the big blind has to pay their big blind and they have to pay an ante equal to the amount of the big blind. So at 100, 100, the big blind basically has to play 200. If the blinds are like 1,500, big blind has to pay basically 2,000. It has to pay a 1,000 blind and then 1,000 ante. All right. Any questions? Hit me up in the comment section. So anyway, yeah, it was a really crazy session. I saw so many bad beats and so many people sucking out on the river. And should say most of these players aren't really poker players. They're gamblers. I mean, some, not all of them, but most of them are like that. They'll, they'll play trash. Okay, so like, yeah, I'll just talk about one hand from Friday night. It was like my first or second hand. I get king, queen suited. I think I was like in second or third position. And the guy to my right, he raises with pocket nines. He raises like three times the big blind, I think, or maybe double. And I called. And and then this guy, like 5 places away from me, he freaking raises with Jack Deuce off. You shouldn't even be calling with that. You shouldn't even be limping with that hand. This guy's raising with it, and that's not it. And then the guy with pocket nines, he goes all in. And I actually had king queen suited. I don't remember if I said it was suited. And I didn't want to bust out on my first or second hand, whatever it was. So after tanking a little bit, I ended up folding. And then the guy with Jack Deuce, he actually calls. And and then they flip over the cards, and I was just like, what? And I actually would have won. A queen came up on the river. You know, if I would have made it all the way to the river, I would have won that hand. But anyway, that's just to give you some idea of what kind of players they have at this room. And again, this is like this cheapest tournament, so I don't know if they're all like that. I'm sure the higher priced tournaments, the players are a little better, a little more skillful. But yeah, basically you just have to wait for good hands and then bet big, and they have a really hard time folding. So like I remember early in the tournament, and yeah, like the whole played for like about almost 4 hours, but I think I think I left. No, not 4 hours. Maybe I think I left a little before 11, so maybe a little less than 3 hours. And I think I only won like 5 hands, maybe 4 or 5 hands. Yeah, I think I only actually won 4 hands the whole time, but I didn't play a lot of hands either. I was getting like crap. Like I thought the first night I was getting like nothing but crappy hands, but at least the first night I did get pocket kings twice. I actually made a set with the kings, and I got pocket aces once. On Sunday, man, I didn't get aces, kings. I got queens twice after this hand, which I very narrowly won, but I never got ace king, I don't think. Never got ace queen. I don't think I ever got king queen. I got king jack, I think, twice and lost with it both times. nothing but trash pretty much the whole night. And still, I managed to barely make the money. But anyway, I do remember like early on, like probably the first, maybe my third or fourth hand, I actually made a straight. I think I was actually a big blind, and I had 9, 10 off. And I don't remember exactly what the flop was, but everybody checked it. And then I I turned an open ender, and I remember I think I needed did I turn an open ender? I'm pretty sure I can't remember. I'm pretty sure the turn was a queen and the river was a jack, but I'm pretty sure there were like 4 or 8 cards that would have given me the straight. I don't know if there was like some I had a double belly buster or anything, but anyway, on the turn, I'm pretty sure it was a queen, and this one guy bets like 300, and I called, and everyone else folded, and I made the straight on the river. I'm pretty sure it was a jack, and the guy had position on me. I considered maybe just checking, but ultimately I decided to bet. I figured they're so loose, I could probably get a call with almost anything if this guy, especially if this guy's got queens or a pair of queens. I can't remember if that would have been top pair. I think it may have been, but anyway, I bet like 1,200 and he almost insta folds, which was kind of disappointing. And I would not win like another hand for like over an hour. But yeah, this was crazy. There was this one guy with orange hair, and he was not even looking at his cards. He seriously he was like raising every hand in the dark, not looking at his cards until like after at least after the flop, and he would like raise the flop or um go all in on the flop without even looking at his cards, and then he actually did start off pretty good. There was this one hand he was actually against this guy I was talking to from America, another foreigner. He from Missouri, and the guy from Missouri had ace queen, and this guy, he when he went all in, he hadn't even looked at his cards yet, but the flop was something like ace jack six. Oh, and the guy with ace queen calls, and they flip over, and I don't remember if I'm describing this exactly how it went down, but I'm trying my best. It was something like this. Um, they flip over the cards, and the guy he has two pair against top pair queen kicker, and then an ace came up on the river, so the guy ended up winning. So this guy busted out, I think, on that hand or a couple hands later, and then and again, he just like every time he would just like raise or at least limp every hand without looking at his cards and betting the flop, and he ended up busting out like 10 or 15 minutes later, and then he would just go back and rebuy, come back in, bust out. And then like the third time he bought back in, they sent him to another table, which I was kind of happy with. I was kind of hoping I might get like a good hand that I could call against him. But anyway, I think he got pretty far. I don't know how many times he ended up buying back in. I remember like towards the end of the tournament when got to the point where everyone had made the money, everyone's still in the game. I remember seeing him with some other players, and I think he was just watching the game, and I don't think he was really in it because he wasn't sitting at a table. He was just like standing with some other players. I think that had busted out. But anyway, yeah, that was one crazy hand. And then actually a little, maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes after that guy bought back in for the third time, I actually got moved to another table. So I'm playing at this other table and just didn't get anything. it got to the point I think where the blinds were at like about 1,000. The big blind was like 1,000, and I was down to like just over 6,000 in chips. Remember, you start off with 12,000. And so I'm in first position. I'm about to be the big blind where I'm gonna have to give like a third of my stack up. I get pocket nines, so I just go all in, praying that everyone will just fold. I'll just win the blinds and the ante. But this guy about four places away from me, he calls with ace king. This guy, he was like he had tattoos. He was like a thin guy, like skinnier than me, but he had like a shaved head, goatee, and tattoos all over his face and his hands. Um, but he calls with ace king, and everyone else folds, and then the flop is something like four, ace, seven, and I was like, I've got two outs. I never stuck out like this. And then the dealer, she puts down the turn card, and what do you know? Can you believe it? I hit a two outer. It was a nine. I made a set and ended up doubling out. The guy actually, our stacks were actually very similar. He just barely had me covered, but he didn't realize that at first. So at first he walks away, but then the dealer counts the chips and she's like, come back in. He comes back and he busted out like I think on the next hand he went all in and lost something like that. So yeah, that was a crazy hand. Yeah, a couple of hands after that, I started getting some good cards. Um, I think just a couple hands after that, I get pocket queens. Actually, no. Well, like right after that, we had the break. I think I can't remember if it was actually before. I don't remember. Um, it was like real soon after that. We had the break, and so I went outside see if I could bum a smoke off anyone. I see this guy from my table, Vietnamese guy, big guy. It was actually the guy that subscribed to me. Um, his name was Hung, and we talked for a little while. He's like we're talking about how amazing it was that I survived and made that set, and then we come back in, and then real quick after that, I get pocket queens from like middle position, I think, and that same guy, I think he was I think on the button or the small blind. Yeah, and I bet 3,000. I raised to 3,000. He calls. I think some other guy called. I mean, I know another guy. Well, what? Wait, no, wait. No. This time, I raised to 3,500, and he calls, and then this other guy calls. This other guy, I need to talk about him. This guy, he was either a really great poker player or a really lucky gambler. This guy was like getting like running so hot, I couldn't believe it. I mean, the same thing happened with another guy on Friday, but like this guy was in the big blind. This one guy raised with king queen suited. He went all in with ace six suited and ended up winning. Um, Actually, I think I'm going to talk about more about him later. But anyway, I think he was the one that called. Not positive, but I think maybe he was. But anyway, the flop was something like undercard 10-10. And wait, yeah, I think yeah, that guy must have been the small blind because I had position, and I remember he checked and the other guy checked, and I bet like 4,000, and they both folded. And then like just like um, that one guy with the ace king that I beat, he bought back in, and again he was playing fast and loose, and he had some bad beats maybe, but he was in the big blind, and he had lost more than half his stack. He had like 5,000 blind. Big blind was 1,000, which means he had to pay 2,000. So after paying his blind, he had 3,000 left, and I get pocket queens again. And this time I just raised to 3,000, and I was like in third position, I think. And everyone folds to him, and he actually goes all in with 4 or 5. I think it might have been suited. Uh, oh, wait a second. I think this actually happened before the hand I was talking about. Was it? I don't remember. I might be wrong about the order. This might have happened. This might have been the first hand. I think maybe it was. Yeah, I think this was actually the first hand. The first time I got pocket queens, and then I got pocket queens again. Sorry. But anyway, in this hand, he goes all in. And it's just 1,000 more for me to call. I just quickly insta called. Dealer lays down the flop, and I flopped a set of queens. So that was pretty much it. I busted him. It was just like the second time in about 20 minutes he busted out. He, I think he bought back in again. A lot of the players do that. A lot of the local players, they do that. They just, like I said, they play fast and lose. They play almost any two cards, and if they bust out, they'll just go back and buy back in. So anyway, I got pocket queens twice, won twice. So at that point, I had a pretty decent stack. I think my stack was above average. They have displays all over the poker room. There's like maybe like 50 tables inside this room. It's huge. And I forgot to also mention, like you walk in, it's kind of hard to find. It's like inside this huge hotel. I can't remember. It's like a really snazzy, like 4 or 5 star hotel, huge hotel right on the corner of this busy street. And it's like the poker room is like 3 doors down, I think, from like the main entrance of the hotel. And yeah, I had a real hard time finding it the first time. I went into the hotel, asked the guy, and he told me where it was. And yeah, it says like ABC Poker, actually, I think, outside the door. But you walk in, there's like a security guard there, and he motions you to the the front counter where you like buy in, and there's these 2 girls, and one of them tells you we have no cash games, and you need to show me your passport. And then, yeah, like I said, there's like 50 tables, and there's tables to the right and the left of that entrance area. I had a pretty good stack at that point. And oh yeah, I forgot to say, yeah, the main thing I want to talk about. There are like TV displays all over the poker room where you can like see like the number of players and how many players are left and how many places are paid. And of course it adjusts depending on how many players come back in because yeah, for the tournaments you're allowed to buy back in as many times. And you know I I don't think there's any cutoff. There's no cutoff that I know of that you can't buy back in, but there does get to a point where it's just not worth it to buy back in. But you understand, and it also tells you like the average stack. And so I was looking at that screen and I saw I had a little above the average stack where before most of the tournament I was like had less than half the average stack. So, but I didn't get, yeah, I think that was like the last hand I won, unfortunately. Yeah, yeah, but after a while, we go to they move all of us and to consolidate us into 2 tables, and I'm getting close to the making the money, but just not getting crap. And I remember, oh yeah, well, let me talk about some of the other crazy hands that happened. Like there was this one Chinese girl. I think she was Chinese. She looked Chinese. This pretty girl who was playing, never said a word. She was like kind of like almost right across from me. at the second table I was playing at, and she seemed pretty good. Like I remember at one point, like before I won that hand with pocket nines, at one point she had a stack that was probably like five times the size of mine at least, but she ran into a really, really, really bad beat against the one guy I was talking about, where I don't know if he's a great player or just he was really lucky that night, and I'm pretty sure it's probably he was really lucky. But they got to it. She had actually lost. She had had some bad beats, and she's kind of getting low on chips, or sick, or not really low, but I think it had been like cut in half at least. And she gets queen ten. I think maybe she was the big or the button, and he was the big blind. Might have been something like that. And they were the only two in the hand, and she had queen nine, and he had queen ten. And the board went down to the river. The board was queen seven queen. That was a flop. And then, can you believe that? They both had queens, remember? And then the turn was a 10. And yeah, I mean, even though flop, the guy was already ahead. But then on the turn, she's got trips and she's drawn. Was she drawing dead? I guess like they could have chopped with another 10, right? Yeah, if another 10 came up, she could have chopped. But that was her only hope. But then, like, it got worse because the board paired again with a seven on the river. So she had a full house. Unfortunately, he had a slightly better full house. And after that, she had like less than one big blind left. And I think on that next hand, if I remember correctly, she went all in. I think someone else went all in. And it was crazy. I think like everyone got a piece of the plot. There was like three or four people involved. I remember, I think maybe she had, I think, I think she had an ace and she flopped a straight draw, and another guy flopped a wheel draw, and another guy flopped two pair, and then another guy had six, seven. Yeah, the flop was like three, four, five. This one guy had ace deuce, so he had a like a wheel straight, not a wheel. I say wheel draw. He had a wheel straight. He flopped the wheel. But this other guy had six, seven, and so he had a seven high straight to crush this guy's wheel straight. And this other guy had two pair, and I think she had like a straight draw, and the guy with six, seven ended up winning. The other guy didn't make a full house, something like that. There was a crazy hand like that. Um, okay, so back to final two tables. Yeah, so there's this, like I was gonna say, like almost every hand that I didn't bust out on, whenever I raised, I ended up winning, like both on Friday and Sunday. I was gonna say that I actually wasn't a victim of a lot of bad beats, but there was like this one hand where I had ace 10 and I didn't have a very big stack, so I just called with it. I don't even remember what the blinds were at that point. But this other guy calls me with queen 10, and I think it was like the big blind or something, or some other guy. He calls with queen deuce. So it's ace 10 versus queen 10 versus queen deuce. Guess what comes up on the flop? A freaking queen and a deuce. And then guess what the turn was? And actually, we all checked, even the guy with two pair. And then the turn was a bad card for me. It was a 10. I figure I might be possibly ahead at this point, even though actually I think there were two overcards. I think there was also a jack in the flop, but I think I might be good because, like I said, these guys, a lot of the players, they're so fast and loose to play anything. But I think I just checked, and they also all checked. And so this other guy, Queen 10, he checks with like top, or not top two pair, but Yeah, I guess there were like three to a straight and possible better two pair. But then like it goes to the river. Can't remember what the river was. Fortunately, it was not an ace. Um, Luckily, it wasn't a 10. Otherwise, I would have been really screwed. But the guy with Queen Deuce, he bets. Yeah, I think the I don't know. I don't remember. He bet something, and I called. I think he might have just just limped, and I called, and the guy with Queen 10, he just calls, and I see the bad news. So that was kind of a bad beat. I had Ace 10 versus Queen 10, Queen Deuce, Queen comes up on the freaking flop, and fortunately, I didn't suck out. So at that point, I'm really low on chips, and I remember we had like another break. I think soon after that, and it was I think 14 players left, and 13 players got paid, but I'm like in middle position, and I've only got two big blinds. Remember, basically that's kind of like just one blind because I have to pay an ante. I think yeah, it's like the blinds at that point were 4,000. I think at that point the length of time that blinds rise might slow down a little bit. Not positive, but yeah. So the big blind was 4,000. I had 8,000. So I basically at that point I can't even make it to the small blind if I don't win before then. And I go up to the guy. I see the guy from Missouri. He's still in, and he's actually pretty big stack. He's like one of the top stacks. And I told him, man, I need you to bust someone. 'Cause I messaged another guy from Scotland I know here. I said, man, I'm like one place away from the money, but I've only got two big blinds. I need a miracle. The guy from Missouri, he's like, yeah, I'll try, man. Good luck. But he's like, are you in are you close to being the big blind? I'm like, no, no, I'm like in the middle. He's like, oh, well, you got some time. I'm like, yeah, yeah, not very much though. But anyway, I think I'm about like right after the break ended and we started playing again. I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm like two spots away from the button, and I finally get semi decent hand. I think it was folded to me, and I have like ace six off, and the button is this one chick who she busted out and bought back in at least once. And I was thinking about shoving, but I looked at her and I could see her face. I could see she's just dying for me to call. She's just like, and so I ended up folding. But then like the guy next to me, he goes all in with 7-8, and she calls with pocket jacks. Remember? And she's kind of short stack. He has her covered, but I don't know his hand right away. When at first they call, and I like kind of like I don't know. I'm like rubbing the guy. I'm like saying, "Yeah, I need you to win. Please win. Come on." Because if he wins, I make the money. Then he turns over 7-8. She turns over jacks. I'm like, ah, shit, shucks. And but then he hit a seven on the flop. I'm still like I'm sure she's gonna win. But then an eight actually came up on the river. See, that's what I'm talking about. There was all kinds of rivers like that all night long, and she ended up busting out. He cracked her jacks with 7-8. I think they were suited, but that was crazy. And I probably gloated a little too much. Maybe that's what brought me some bad karma that made me bust out. I was the next one to bust out, but I couldn't help it. I was like so tense for so long. I was so close to the money and I was so worried. I was going to be the bubble. I really hate that. But I had made the money. But then, like a couple hands after that, I'm in first position again with King 8 suited. like I said, I can't even make it. If I don't win in the next two hands, I'm gonna bust out. The blinds, I'll be eaten up by by the big blinds and the ante. So I go all in, and the small blind is that one guy I was talking about who I don't know if he's good or lucky. Pretty sure he's just lucky. And he's like got a big stack, and he calls me, and the big blind, he thinks about it for a while. He has freaking seven deuce suited, and he thinks about it for a while, and he calls, and he freaking ended up winning. The flop was I actually flopped a flush draw, and he flopped a pair of sevens. So even though he at that moment was the best hand, I was actually the favorite to win. I had 15 outs, so it's like a 60% favorite. But no king, no eight, no heart came up, and I ended up busting out, and I was pissed. It's like I got busted by seven deuce. Are you effing kidding me? But at least I did make the money barely, and my prize was 425,000. So minus my entry fee, I won 25,000, which is less than $1, but better than a kick in the head, I guess. So anyway, oh, and also I do want to talk about why I'm not feeling so great. Like the first dealer I was playing with at her table, I think I'm pretty sure well, yeah, I'm sure she was sick. Like she wasn't like, she didn't look sick, but she was coughing like consistently every now and then, and she wasn't wearing a mask. And, it wasn't like constant, but just fairly consistently. And I was like really scared I was going to catch something. So she would cough and I would like try to lean away. And like during the break, I went into the bathroom and washed my hands. So I was really glad I got moved to a different table. But during the break, um, I tried washing my hands really good. Then when I got home, I took a bunch of medicine. I took some, and not medical advice, but I took a bunch of zinc and I took some of the stuff that I bought like the first time I got sick here in Vietnam. I took one of those and I didn't eat anything. Tried to like starve the sickness and I could feel it coming on already. And the reason I took zinc is because when I was in the Naval Reserves, I had a corpsman told me that those coldies things, they're basically just zinc. So that's what I try to do whenever I feel I might be infected with like a cold or something. I try to take zinc as soon as possible. It's like, with those coldies, you got to take them right away. As soon as you feel the sickness, it's even better to take it before you feel anything. But once the symptoms set in, it's pretty much ineffective. So I did that. Didn't eat, but yeah, I was starting to feel. Oh, and also I took like a long shower, scrubbed myself down nice and well when I got home. Yeah, but like a couple hours after I got home, I was starting to feel it already. I was feeling really, really crappy. Couldn't sleep all night long, and I was listening at first to some YouTube, Art Bell on YouTube, but then I saw like this suggestion for a video for it said healing music. I didn't really put a lot of stock in it, but I went ahead and played it just for the hell of it. And the next morning, I actually was feeling a lot better. Or feeling much better than I thought I was going to feel. And I did try to like fast for the rest of the day, but I was really, really hungry. So around 1 or 2 o'clock, I had a tuna fish sandwich and some potato chips and a glass of water and a hard-boiled egg. And then later that night, I was feeling, pretty okay. I had a small headache. I mean, I was tired from not sleeping, but didn't feel that bad. and I didn't really have much food, but I had some cookies, and so I ate two of those, and I had some zero Coke. And then I woke up this morning, I was feeling a little crappy. I mean, not nearly as bad like last two times I got sick here, but I still have a headache and still feeling kind of tired. I'm not like blowing my nose a lot today. I am coughing a bit, but yeah, so if you go to this poker room, I would recommend, if possible, wearing a mask. And a lot of the locals, you will see a lot of the locals wearing masks. It's also a good way to have a poker face. So I gotta look for one. I'm pretty sure I have one somewhere, but then before I go there again. But anyway, I think that's gonna I think that's gonna about do it for this video. If you watched the whole thing, thank you very much. And if you can subscribe, I would really appreciate that. If you have any questions or any comments, have you ever been to this poker room? If you want to give me some advice, like I said, I'm a newbie. I've only played there two times so far, so if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it in the comments. If you have any questions, go ahead and hit me up in the comments. But that's going to do it for this video. Thanks a lot for watching. If you watched the whole thing, thank you so much. I'm very grateful. And I'll see you next time. Zaijian.